February the 25th, 2003, and we're in the home of Lyle B. Hosler in Wamego, Kansas, 504 Spruce Street. Lyle was born October the 12th, 1925, so he's 77 years old today. And I am Dean Schoengert, the interviewer, the coordinator of this project in our county. Lyle, tell us what life was, what you were doing just before you went into the service.
Well, I graduated from high school in 1943, and I was working for Trivet in a grocery store. And then after while I was in high school, and then as I got out of high school, graduated, and my brother and my uncle, who were both, one of them in North Korea, and one of them was in North Africa, and my uncle was in New Guinea, and they both said, "Don't wait to be drafted, join the Merchant Marine." So I went to Kansas City and joined the Merchant Marine, and in that fall, I got called December the 23rd. Trained to California and Catalina Islands, 15 weeks training for cook school.
Cook school.
And
Have you ever been on a ship before?
No. And then, so I shipped out. I went to San Francisco to ship out. On the first ship was Yorba Linda, which means a beautiful swan. It was under a Panamanian register. And it was a pretty old ship. So we went to Hawaiian Islands hauling aviation fuel. And we had a deck cargo of fighter planes, P-37s, I believe they were. One with a double fuselage with a swept tail. And then we come back and went coastwise up to Portland, Seattle. Made a couple trips before we went back to Hawaiian Islands again. Then we come home, and I decided I'd take a little vacation. I come home for 2 weeks. I went back, and at times I got another ship. We was towing a concrete barge, and we went at Hawaiian Islands and unloaded them. And we went on to Anahuac in the Marshall Islands.
What was the concrete barge?
It was, I don't know what it was full of, but we towed it. It was some for the Navy. And went to Anahuac and unloaded. They're in different Navy ships. And then we come back, and next trip we had, I don't know, we had 3 different ones there. That time we went to Canada with some load of fuel. Vancouver, British Columbia.
You were cooking?
Yes.
How many
We had
Marines were you cooking for?
Well, there was usually 40 crew, and there's 30 armed guard. And now when we had them planes, we had an extra 20 pilots. So 90, anywhere from 70 to 90 men, 3 meals a day. And there were 2 cooks. Chief cook and they call it second cook and baker. He did all the bacon and prepared all the vegetables, which I was to start out with.
2 cooks and a baker? Or?
No, one cook is a baker.
Mm-hmm. You were baking?
Yes, at that time.
What did you bake mainly?
Everything, cake, pies, 16 pies a day. Kept you busy. Kept you 16 loaves of bread every day.
I think so.
And that's what it took to feed them. They had good appetites. Let's see. Well, then I was on the PE going from San Pedro to Los Angeles for go to movies, and the guy gets on, and I thought that guy looks familiar. Happened to be my cousin from Topeka. You know, so he said, "Why don't we, next time we go home, let's go to New Orleans instead of coming back out here." So we did, and there I got on a ship, another tanker.
You said you were on PE. Is that a ship?
Pacific Electric train.
Oh.
That they called it. You know, went from San Pedro to Wilmington to Long Beach to Los Angeles.
I see.
And very cheap.
It's kind of a furlough for you, or
Yeah, well, it was just a
time off, or
little afternoon off once in a while we take. So we went to New Orleans and got on a ship. Went to Galveston to load up. Went down through the Panama Canal.
really?
That time we had a LSTs, landing surface craft tank. They were heavy boogers. We had 2 of those. And we went through the Panama Canal, went 28 days to Guam without seeing land. That's a long stretch. But that's a lot of miles. I don't know how many. I'd do it about 22 miles an hour for 28 days. And we get there and we unloaded some fuel. Then went to Saipan, Tinian. We was unloading in Navy ships all this time. Well, they didn't have anything there that boomed big enough to unload these LSTs, and we couldn't with our our boom wasn't big enough to unload them. So we had to go to maybe a place in Palu, I think it was, where they had a big battle wagon that had big enough booms to unload your LSTs.
Now, LSTs.
Be a landing surface tank.
Oh,
that
that's
they
what,
would carry the tanks that you for invasion.
Mhm.
Then we got orders to go to the Persian Gulf, Abadan, and we're going to have on a shuttle run from there to India, Calcutta. That is, we went to rounded New Guinea. We hit a coral reef, ripped 100 and some feet of bottom out of the ship.
Where was that?
That was off the coast of Guam. We were supposed to pick up a pilot in Derby, Australia, but we'd hit this reef and it really ripped the bottom, I don't know, 100 feet or so out of the bottom of the ship. So then they called a tug to pull us off this big rock, you might say, and we pulled into Port Moresby, New Guinea, and sat there for a couple of weeks. Radioed the state's trying to get a diver to come down and check our damages, see if she was seaworthy enough to bring her back to the States. Well, that was just at Christmas time, and ain't nobody, no diver is going to go down there at that time. It just ain't no diver going to come down there. So the captain said, well, we're going to have a vote. Whatever the majority rules, if you want to ride the ship back, we're heading back to the States. If you don't, well, we'll find you passage somehow. Some way you just have to wait here till we get passage. So we had a meeting, and I said, well, I'm not checking. I ain't afraid. If we go down, we go down. If it doesn't sinks. Anyway, we brought her back and went back through the Panama Canal. There is where they got the diver. They weren't going to let us go through the Panama Canal without seeing how bad the damages was. But they built up steam in there, pressure, that kept the water out, so it didn't bother. I mean, we'd come back in good shape. Went back through the Panama Canal, and then we put her in they called it the funeral, what do they call it? In Mobile, Alabama, put her in the graveyard for salvage, I guess. So that would have been about, that had been January of '46, that time. So then I got another ship, a Liberty ship this time, and went from New Orleans to Finland. Went through the Kiel Canal in Germany there, between Germany and Holland, to Finland. We had a load of coal. We was the first American ship into Finland after the war. And as most of the Finnish men had been killed by Russia, against Russia, the women did all the unloading at the coal with shovels. No pulling. Each hole had, there was 5 holes, and they had these canvas tarps that the women would shovel coal onto the tarp, and then there were the men would operate the cranes. They're hard-working gals, believe me. No pulling.
It's hard to believe.
Had 16 women in each hole, shoveling coal. So then they were loading it on these little trains. You know how them little, like Korea was?
Narrow
you
gauge.
seen their trains?
Narrow gauge trains.
Just a little bitty narrow gauge.
Yeah.
So I think, I don't know, it was there 2-3 weeks. Trains never got dark. I was there in June, and sun would set, and she's coming back up there, and about 2 hours later, she's coming up again. It was really odd, but you slept in a wall where they had, well, I'd call it carpet kind of, so that it was dark.
Oh.
Because they could put the light in the bedrooms. They all had these beds stuck in the wall. It was kind of strange.
That's not on the ship.
No, this was, no, that was a little
In a
different.
barrack of some kind.
Yeah, in there. No, this was in the home.
That's the way they...
I was invited to the Burgomaster.
Uh-huh.
His wife invited me up there. I met this girlfriend of hers. She invited me to come up there for a party, and they still asked me to stay over for that night. So I did. Went back to ship the next morning, but I had really treated real nice. But you know, I found out that anywhere I was, you was treated just like you'd want to be treated. Like you treat them, they treat you. Okay, then we go back to Charleston, South Carolina. I loaded another load of coal. This time we went to Italy. I call it Brindisi, they call it Brindisi. That's around on the hill of Italy.
said
And
Germany?
Italy.
With coal?
Yes. Of course, there they had men to unload. I mean, and but when we was there too, there's one gal washed all our sheets on the whole ship by hand, and her hand, her arms was just bleeding on washboard. No fooling. Gee, that'll talk about hard. No washing machine, no nothing. Okay, then we come back and there was union went on strike. So I got off the ship, come home and thought, heck with it.
This was
That would be last October 1946. Went back to Wamega and went to work in lumberyard. And I worked till October 1950, and I got drafted in the Army. And again, I went to California to take my training, camp cook. And we shipped to Seattle, and from there we shipped to Yokohama, Japan. And we was there like 3 days, and boarded the ship again, went to Busan, Korea.
You remember the date of that?
No, I don't.
Where was the war front at that time?
About Seoul.
Uh-huh.
Cause we took this narrow gauge, like cattle, little. They had wooden racks in the train, the narrow gauge deal. You just slept on this. Of course, you throw you a sleeping bag, and we slept on these boards. I don't remember. It took a couple of days to go to Seoul. Eating sea rations on the way, and then they put you in the companies there.
Oh.
Different. I just happened to end up in the 3rd Division. Georgia Company. 160th Regiment, I think, if I remember right. I think I'm right.
And were you assigned to the front from there? Or?
Yeah, well, that was, we were in reserve when I joined the company for a short time, and then we went to the front then. Let's see, we just crossed the Han River.
Yes.
It was of course, they already blew all the bridges. They had put pontoons out, you know, and we crossed on the pontoons. And a little foggy about it, what all happened in Korea, though, as to when different things happened.
The front had stabilized along the 38th parallel by then?
No.
No?
We well, they had just went. Of course, it was going too fast. Like armored division, you know. Of course, normally troops pull back. In the European theater, they pull the troops back as they're. Well, there, we get up our ways and side there's more behind us than there was in front of us. They was dug in and they just stayed there in the caves. Then they had to back off again and come back again. And I got on that. That's the phase. Days that we was cleaning out everything as we went. And we had one really rough one there, a couple. On Hill 477, 47, and 6, where we had 10 truckloads of men, 25 to a truckload. That was 300 men. 50 of them was rocks, South Koreans. And when we left there, we had 75 men, either dead or wounded. The rest of them, not all killed, but always they said there was like supposed to have been 2 squads, maybe most of a platoon there. There was a whole regiment dug in that mountain, which we run into a lot of opposition. But that was the worst one that I was in.
So you were in foxholes a lot, and you had artillery coming at you,
And then, I don't know, we supposed to have spent the winter, said we're in this one fixed position. So we built bunkers, good ones. I mean, I built my squad. We took railroad track was down below us. We brought railroad ties up, made a roof. We had a big tree cut down and then put these railroad ties going up both ways. Put rocks on top of that. Put dirt on top and grass on top of that. Built a fireplace in there. We was ready for winter. We was there a week, as usual, and moved out. I mean, it's crazy, you know. I don't know how many times we did that. Yeah, we're gonna be there all the rest of the winter. Maybe 2 weeks at most. That's about it. Thank goodness for me.
what was the closest call you had, or
That one artillery round was
Wow.
my closest. It was probably 20 feet away, 25 feet maybe. Bit in this trench.
what did that feel like?
Like a truckload of sand, rock, and dirt fell on me. But luckily I didn't get hurt. Guess nobody did on that. You just happened to land right at the right place. And then I got to rotate home. 10 months.
10 months in Korea.
Mhm.
You were like infantry during this time,
Yeah.
with a squad of.
I was 57 when I started out as a gunner. 57 recoilless rifle.
Ah.
5 men to a squad of those. And then I was section sergeant when I got through. You had 3 squads under you.
What was this recoilless rifle like? Is it
Well, it
kind of-
was
kind of machine gun, or is it?
weighed 54 pounds, shot around about that big around and about that long, with a shell casing and all. And you had 3 different kinds. You had high explosive, you had phosphorus, and you had anti-tank. So you had 3 different kind of rounds. I could shoot that 1,200 yards and hit a gnat, no kidding. They were real accurate if you get your distances. But there's a rock over here on a hill that was 1,200 yards away. Bam! And I hit him dead center, and she was turned black. No fooling. It was real accurate.
Is this?
Shot off your shoulder. The worst thing was carrying it up in mountains. But no, it's a real good gun.
You had to carry your ammunition too.
Mm-hmm. They had 3 ammo bearers plus they each carried 6 rounds, and your squad leader carried 3 rounds. And took 2 men to operate. One guy loads it, and then one guy was the gunner. But when mountainous. You couldn't get another artillery piece up there, you know, but it worked real good.
Were you fighting North Koreans or
Yeah,
Chinese?
mainly North Koreans and Chinese, both.
Did they have a similar type gun?
No. A lot of machine guns, you know, or snipers. On this one hill, we were getting men hit. That was at 477. They'd go around the hill. So this AR man said, "Hey, Hoss, get up here and let me show you something." He said, "Keep watching there. See it? Go down that finger. You know how them mountains, they had more or less fingers, we call them. And down here we was coming around here one at a time, and bing, bing, they was getting hit. But I could see the fire where so I crawled up and he said, I'm gonna, with his AR, he said, I'll let out a burst of fire and you crawl up there and whack that baby. So even to keep him down, I screwed up there and bowie, and I blowed the hell out of things. But I got, one time, somebody else had shot and hit a rock and broke my daggone glasses on one thing, so that's as close as I come really. Got my glasses busted with a rock ricochet. But we got that guy knocked out of there anyway, whatever. So that we didn't have any more injuries, casualties there.
Was this like a sniper?
Yeah. I guess that's about the end of it.
What did you feel about the war when you came home there in Korea?
Well,
and was it a hopeless effort or?
no, not really. You know, we got clear up there to the Yalu River one time, and Chinese come over in the thousands. I mean, just a wave, and you couldn't shoot them fast enough. They just keep crawling over each other. And I don't know, I guess they had more people than they could feed anyway, so.
Did you experience a lot of night attacks?
Oh, it's yeah. Blow them bugles, and you know, it got a creepy feeling. But when we was in defensive positions, we put that barbed wire, and then put Constantine wire, if you know what that is. That round wire, that if you stick a Bangalore torpedo under it, it just blows up and it comes right back down. Or a strip wire would bust. But this stuff, it just goes up and it comes right back down and you can't crawl through it. But it was real good when you had that in front of you. And usually we had built places where, come up a ravine here, come up this hill. So you put a machine gun up, setting up here, and where they had come up is, they couldn't get through the wires, they'd keep coming, and you just rattle the hell up.
Oh, when you got
The
out?
war is nasty, any out here, you know. There ain't no winner. I think
No.
everybody loses, really do. No.
When you were discharged, then what have you done after your military service?
Oh, worked in a lumber yard, come back for personnel until I was 60, I guess. 38 years there. You know, other than being out for a couple of years on the Army, but
Now you've been
taking it easy.
retired now.
I'm working at the golf course. It's getting to be work there. Right.
Well, thank you very much, Lyle,
You're
for
welcome.
sharing your experience with us, and we appreciate it. And we
Hope I wasn't too boring. I was trying. It's kind of hard to remember 60 years ago, you know.
I don't know when
It was, but
you were all over the world
yes.
in your merchant marines and then in Korea. Well, thank you, sir.
Yeah, and then since then, see, Marge and I've been there.